Maya Chen walked into Thunder Ridge shooting range with her worn messenger bag slung across her shoulder, trying to ignore the stares that followed her every step. The concrete building smelled of gunpowder and metal polish, sounds of distant gunfire echoing from the indoor ranges. At 26, she looked more like a college student than someone who belonged in this testosterone-heavy environment. Her oversized glasses kept sliding down her nose, and her thrift store clothes hung loose on her small frame. The three men behind the counter burst into barely concealed laughter as she approached. Jake Morrison, the range owner's son, nudged his buddies with his elbow. His thick arms were covered in military tattoos, and his smirk suggested he found her presence amusing. Next to him stood Rex Butler, a local police officer who spent most of his off-duty hours at the range, and Tommy Nash, who claimed to be former Special Forces though nobody had ever verified his stories. Well, what do we have here? Jake drawled, his voice carrying across the lobby. You looking for the library, sweetheart? I think you took a wrong turn somewhere. Maya's cheeks flushed red, but she kept her voice steady. I'd like to rent a lane and get some ammunition for target practice. Rex leaned against the counter, his massive frame casting a shadow over her. Target practice? What are you planning to shoot, paper airplanes? The three men erupted in laughter, drawing attention from other customers scattered around the lobby. I have my license, Maya said quietly, reaching into her bag. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled out her concealed carry permit and placed it on the glass counter. Tommy snatched up the license, examining it like it might be fake. Maya Chun, he read aloud mockingly. Let me guess, Daddy bought you a cute little pink pistol for your birthday? He flicked the license back across the counter. Listen, honey, this isn't a place for beginners. You could hurt yourself or someone else. Jake nodded in agreement, crossing his arms over his barrel chest. We've got insurance to think about. Can't have amateurs wandering around with loaded weapons. Why don't you try the paintball place down the street? Might be more your speed. Maya felt heat rising in her face, but she pressed on. I just need lane 16 if it's available. Lane 16. Rex raised an eyebrow. That's our long-range precision setup. We reserve that for serious shooters only. He looked her up and down dismissively. You probably can't even lift our rifles. The humiliation stung, but Maya had dealt with this kind of treatment her entire life. Growing up as the daughter of Chinese immigrants in a small Nebraska town had taught her to endure mockery with quiet dignity. Her father worked 16-hour days at his small restaurant while her mother cleaned office buildings at night. They had sacrificed everything to give Maya opportunities they never had. I can pay the premium rate, Maya offered, pulling out her wallet. Jake leaned forward on his elbows. It's not about money, princess. It's about capability. That range is set up for distances most people can't even see clearly, let alone hit accurately. He gestured toward the basic indoor lanes. Why don't you start with lane 3? We've got some .22 caliber pistols that might work for your delicate hands. Maya's jaw tightened. She had hoped to avoid drawing attention to her skills, but their condescending attitude was pushing her patience to its limit. I prefer to work with precision rifles. Tommy burst out laughing. Precision rifles. Did you hear that, boys? She watches too many action movies. He turned to his friends. Next thing you know, she'll be asking for our Barrett 50 cal. Look, we're trying to be nice here, Rex said, his tone becoming more serious. But you're clearly out of your element. This isn't a video game. Real weapons require real training and real strength. Maybe you should consider taking a basic safety course first. Maya glanced around the lobby, noticing that their conversation had attracted a small audience. Other customers, all men, watched with varying degrees of amusement and curiosity. Some nodded in agreement with the counter staff, while others seemed uncomfortable with the public humiliation she was receiving. I've had training, Maya said softly. Jake snorted. What kind of training? YouTube videos. He pulled out a tablet from behind the counter. Tell you what, since you're so insistent, let me check what lanes we have available for beginners. As Jake tapped on the tablet screen, something unexpected happened. Instead of showing the normal reservation system, the screen flickered and displayed what looked like a government database. Maya caught a glimpse of official seals and classified markers before Jake quickly closed the application. Sorry about that, he mumbled, his cocky demeanor faltering slightly. Wrong program. Maya pretended not to notice, but her mind was racing. That brief glimpse had shown her something important. This shooting range had connections she hadn't expected. Her research into the facility had suggested it was just a local business, but the classified database access indicated something more significant. You know what? Tommy interrupted, apparently bored with the conversation. Let's make this interesting. How about a little demonstration? He pulled out his service weapon, a Glock 19, and set it on the counter. If you can field strip this blindfolded in under 30 seconds, we'll let you use whatever lane you want. Rex and Jake exchanged glances. Tommy, that might not be, Rex started. Come on, it's harmless, Tommy insisted. She claims to have training, right? Any real shooter can break down a basic Glock with their eyes closed. Maya looked at the weapon on the counter. The challenge was clearly meant to embarrass her further, to prove she didn't belong in their world. But they had chosen the wrong test. She had been field stripping weapons since she was 12 years old, taught by instructors who made these three look like amateurs. 30 seconds? She asked quietly. 29, 28, getting cold feet already? Tommy taunted, producing a bandana from his pocket. Unless you want to admit you were just wasting our time. Maya reached for the bandana, her decision made. Fine. Jake's tablet beeped, drawing his attention back to the screen. As Maya tied the bandana around her eyes, she heard him cursing under his breath. This thing keeps glitching, he muttered. But his voice carried a note of concern now. With the bandana secured, Maya felt for the Glock on the counter. Her fingers moved with practiced precision, muscle memory taking over. She released the magazine, cleared the chamber, and began the disassembly process. Her movements were fluid and confident, each step executed without hesitation. 20 seconds, Rex called out, his voice lacking its earlier mockery. Maya's hands moved faster, separating the slide from the frame, removing the recoil spring and barrel. The watching crowd had gone silent, the only sound her breathing and the soft clicks of metal components being separated. 15 seconds. She began reassembly, her fingers finding each piece by touch alone. The slide clicked back into place with a satisfying snap. 10 seconds. Tommy's voice was barely above a whisper. Maya inserted the magazine, chambered an imaginary round, and set the weapon down on the counter. Done. She pulled off the blindfold to find the three men staring at her with a mixture of shock and suspicion. The Glock sat perfectly assembled before her, completed in what couldn't have been more than 25 seconds. Lucky guess, Jake said finally, but his voice lacked conviction. Rex picked up the weapon, checking the assembly. Everything was perfect, professional-grade work that spoke of extensive training and experience. Where exactly did you learn to do that? Before Maya could answer, Jake's tablet emitted a series of urgent beeps. The screen had come alive again, but this time it was displaying something that made all three men step back in alarm. Maya couldn't see the screen from her angle, but she watched their faces drain of color. That's impossible, Tommy whispered. Jake's hands shook as he tried to close whatever application had opened. The system's never done this before. Maya maintained her innocent expression while her mind processed what was happening. The tablet was obviously connected to some kind of government database, and her presence had triggered something in their security system. She needed to see that screen. Is everything all right? She asked with genuine-sounding concern. Rex grabbed Jake's arm. We need to call this in immediately. Call what in? Maya pressed, taking a step closer to the counter. Jake finally regained some composure and slammed the tablet shut. Technical difficulties, he said curtly. Look, about the lane rental. Maybe we were too hasty earlier. The sudden change in their attitude was dramatic. Where moments before they had been mocking and dismissive, now they seemed nervous, almost frightened. Maya realized her weapon handling skills had been impressive enough to make them reconsider their assumptions. But something else was happening here. Lane 16 is available after all? She asked innocently. Actually, Tommy said, his voice tight. We're having some equipment issues today. Maybe you should come back tomorrow. Maya nodded understandingly, but inside she was calculating. Whatever had appeared on that tablet screen had scared them, and it was somehow connected to her. She needed to find out what they knew, but pushing too hard right now would only make them more suspicious. That's fine, she said, gathering her things. I'll check back later this week. As she turned to leave, she heard Rex whisper urgently to Jake, we need to run a full background check immediately. That kind of training doesn't come from civilian sources. Maya walked slowly toward the exit, every instinct telling her she was being watched. At the door, she paused and turned back with what she hoped looked like casual curiosity. "Thanks for being so accommodating. I hope your computer problems work themselves out." The three men were huddled around the tablet again, their voices too low to make out individual words. But their body language spoke volumes. They were frightened and confused, trying to understand something that didn't fit their expectations. Maya stepped outside into the afternoon sunlight, her mind racing through possibilities. The shooting range was more than it appeared, connected to systems that could apparently access classified databases. Her presence had triggered some kind of alert or recognition in their system, something significant enough to completely change their attitude toward her. She walked to her beat-up Honda Civic, parked at the far end of the lot. As she opened the driver's door, she noticed a black SUV with tinted windows parked across the street. It hadn't been there when she arrived. Maya got into her car and started the engine, but didn't immediately drive away. Instead, she adjusted her rearview mirror to keep an eye on the SUV. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Stay alert. They're watching now." Maya's blood ran cold. Someone else knew about whatever had just happened inside the range. Someone who had her number and was monitoring the situation. She deleted the message immediately and pulled out of the parking lot, taking a circuitous route home to ensure she wasn't being followed. Back inside Thunder Ridge shooting range, Jake was on his third attempt to contact his father. The tablet screen showed a clearance level that shouldn't exist for any civilian, connected to code names and classifications that were supposed to be buried so deep that even he wasn't supposed to know about them. "Dad, you need to get down here now," he said into his phone. "We have a serious situation." Maya drove through the suburban streets of Cedar Falls, her hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than necessary. The text message from the unknown number kept replaying in her mind. Someone was watching her, someone who knew about the incident at the shooting range. She needed answers, but first she needed to get somewhere safe. Her apartment was a modest one-bedroom unit in an older complex on the edge of town. Maya had chosen it specifically for its single entrance and clear sight lines from the windows, habits ingrained from a past she had worked hard to leave behind. As she pulled into her designated parking spot, she scanned the area carefully. Everything looked normal, but normal was often an illusion. Inside her apartment, Maya went through her usual security routine. She checked every window, ensured the door was properly locked, and activated the small motion detectors she had strategically placed around the living space. Only then did she allow herself to sit down and think about what had happened. The tablet at Thunder Ridge had displayed something that frightened three men who clearly had some kind of law enforcement or military background. Her weapon handling skills had surprised them, but it was the computer system that had really shaken them up. Maya walked to her bedroom closet and moved aside several hanging clothes to reveal a small safe built into the wall. Inside were documents she hadn't looked at in over 3 years. Her real name was Dr. Maya Chun, but that was only part of the truth. The documents in the safe told a different story, one of a brilliant young woman recruited by a classified government program straight out of MIT. She had been 21 when they approached her, fresh from completing dual doctoral degrees in applied physics and computer engineering. Her specialty had been developing advanced targeting systems for precision weapons, technology that could make a single shot count from distances that seemed impossible. Maya pulled out a photograph of herself from 5 years earlier. She looked different then, confident, dressed in military fatigues, standing next to equipment that officially didn't exist. She had been part of something called Project Red Shadow, a Black Ops program that developed enhanced soldiers and support specialists for missions that required absolute precision and discretion. The program had been shut down suddenly, 18 months ago following a classified incident that Maya still had nightmares about. She had been given a new identity, relocated to Cedar Falls, and told to live a quiet civilian life. The government pension was generous enough that she didn't need to work, but the isolation was slowly driving her crazy. She had started visiting the shooting range as a way to maintain some connection to her former skills without drawing attention. Clearly, she had failed at staying invisible. Maya's laptop chimed with an encrypted message notification. She opened her secure communication application, software she had helped design during her time with Red Shadow, and found a message from someone using the codename Falcon. Phoenix, your cover may be compromised. Recommend immediate relocation protocols. Phoenix had been her operational codename. No one should have known it except for her former handlers, and most of them were dead or missing. Maya typed a careful response. Falcon unknown. Verify identity. The response came within seconds. Operation Mirror Lake. 17 confirmed targets, 0 civilian casualties. You saved my life that day. Maya's hands began to shake. Mirror Lake had been her final mission, the one that ended with the program's shutdown. Only 6 people had been present for that operation, and 3 of them were confirmed dead. The mission had been a disaster, with intelligence failures that led them into a trap. Maya's precision shooting had been the only thing that allowed any of them to escape alive. Marcus, she typed. Alive and monitoring situation. You triggered a red flag alert at the range. Multiple agencies are now aware of your location. Marcus Webb had been her spotter during several operations, a former Navy SEAL who could read terrain and wind patterns like most people read books. If he was reaching out now, the situation was serious. How much time do I have? Unknown. The range has connections to a private military contractor called Blackstone Security. They run background checks for government positions. Your biometric data from the weapon handling triggered their system. Maya cursed under her breath. Blackstone Security was notorious for its connections to various intelligence agencies. If they had flagged her activities, it would only be a matter of time before someone came looking for answers. Her phone rang, displaying a local number she didn't recognize. Maya hesitated, then answered with a cautious hello. Dr. Chun. The voice was professional, authoritative. This is Director Sarah Mitchell from the Department of Homeland Security. I believe we need to talk. Maya's blood ran cold. I think you have the wrong number. I don't think so. We know about the incident at Thunder Ridge shooting range this afternoon. We also know who you really are. Mitchell's tone was matter of fact, no threats or intimidation. I'm calling to offer you an opportunity to discuss your situation voluntarily before other parties become involved. Other parties? Dr. Chun, your former project has attracted attention from several international groups. Some friendly, some very much not. Your emergence from deep cover has created what we might call a situation. Maya walked to her window and peered through the blinds. The black SUV from the shooting range was now parked across the street from her apartment building. Are those your people outside? No, which is exactly why we need to meet. There's a coffee shop called Morning Brew on 5th Street. Can you be there in 20 minutes? Maya was trapped between unknown threats and a government agency that officially didn't know she existed. How do I know this isn't a trap? Because if we wanted to take you into custody, we would have done so already. Phoenix. The use of her code name sent a chill down Maya's spine. 20 minutes. After ending the call, Maya quickly gathered essential items, cash, fake identification documents, and a small pistol she had kept despite orders to surrender all weapons. She changed into dark clothing and athletic shoes, preparing for the possibility that this meeting would end badly. Maya left her apartment through the back exit, moving carefully through the complex's maintenance areas. She had studied every possible escape route during her first week living there, another habit from her previous life. The coffee shop was 6 blocks away, far enough to require commitment, but close enough that she could reach it on foot if necessary. As she emerged from an alley 3 blocks from her destination, Maya spotted another black SUV parked near the coffee shop. Either Director Mitchell had significant resources, or multiple parties were indeed interested in her sudden reappearance. She took a circuitous route, using storefront reflections to check for surveillance, and timing her movements to blend with normal pedestrian traffic. Morning Brew was a typical small-town coffee shop, with exposed brick walls and mismatched furniture that suggested local ownership rather than corporate chains. Maya spotted Director Mitchell immediately. She sat at a corner table with clear sight lines to both the front and back entrances, her posture suggesting military or law enforcement background. She was a woman in her 40s, professionally dressed but with an alertness that indicated she was armed and prepared for trouble. Maya approached the table cautiously. Director Mitchell? Please sit down. Mitchell gestured to the chair across from her. Coffee. They make an excellent dark roast here. I'll pass. What do you want? Mitchell studied Maya's face carefully before speaking. What I want is to prevent a war. Your reappearance has created a significant problem for several intelligence communities. My reappearance? I've been living quietly in Cedar Falls for 18 months. Quietly, yes, but not invisibly. Do you remember a woman named Dr. Elena Vasquez? Maya felt her stomach drop. Elena had been Red Shadow's lead researcher, the scientist who developed the enhanced targeting systems that made their impossible shots possible. She had also been Maya's closest friend in the program, until Elena had disappeared during the Mirror Lake incident. Elena is dead. She died during the evacuation. That's what you were told. Elena is very much alive, and she's been selling Red Shadow technology to the highest bidders for the past year. International arms dealers, terrorist organizations, foreign governments, anyone with enough money to afford weapons systems that officially don't exist. Maya leaned back in her chair, processing this information. That's impossible. Elena would never, Dr. Chun. 3 weeks ago, someone used Red Shadow targeting technology to assassinate a British intelligence officer in London. Last week, the same technology was used to eliminate a witness in a war crimes trial in The Hague. Elena isn't just selling technology, she's providing training and operational support. Mitchell pulled out a tablet and showed Maya a series of photographs. Each image showed the aftermath of precisely executed long-range eliminations, targets taken out with the kind of accuracy that Red Shadow had spent years perfecting. The shooting community is small and connected, Mitchell continued. When someone demonstrates Red Shadow-level weapons handling at a facility connected to Blackstone security, it creates ripples. Elena's buyers are very interested in recruiting other Red Shadow survivors. How many of us are left? You, possibly Marcus Webb, and 2 others we've lost track of. Elena has been systematically hunting down everyone connected to the program. She needs them eliminated to protect her operation. Maya felt a cold dread settling in her stomach. The black SUVs outside my apartment? Private military contractors working for one of Elena's clients. They're not here to kill you. They want to capture you alive. Your knowledge of Red Shadow systems makes you extremely valuable. Maya's phone buzzed with another encrypted message from Marcus. Falcon compromised. Multiple hostiles moving on your location. Extract immediately. She showed the message to Mitchell, who cursed under her breath. We need to leave now. As they stood up, Maya noticed several customers in the coffee shop who didn't quite fit the typical small-town demographic. They were too alert, too fit, and they all seemed to be positioning themselves between Maya and the exits. Back door. Maya asked quietly. Covered. But I have assets in position. Mitchell spoke into a small microphone hidden in her jacket collar. Green light. Move now. The next 30 seconds erupted in controlled chaos. Government agents revealed themselves throughout the coffee shop, confronting the hostile contractors with drawn weapons. Mitchell grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her toward a service corridor behind the counter. Stay low and keep moving, Mitchell ordered. They emerged into an alley where an armored vehicle was waiting with its engine running. Maya hesitated for a moment, realizing that getting into that vehicle would mean officially returning to a world she had tried to leave behind. Dr. Chun, Mitchell said urgently, Elena knows you're alive now. Running and hiding isn't an option anymore. But we can offer you protection and the resources to stop her before she sells your technology to someone who uses it to start a war. Maya looked back at the coffee shop, where she could hear shouting and what sounded like suppressed gunfire. Her quiet civilian life was over, whether she liked it or not. Elena's betrayal had forced her back into a game she thought she had finished playing. What do you need me to do? Help us find her. And help us stop her before she disappears permanently. Maya climbed into the armored vehicle, leaving her safe, boring life in Cedar Falls behind. As they drove away, she caught a glimpse of Marcus Webb in the driver's seat. He caught her eye in the rearview mirror and nodded grimly. Good to see you again, Phoenix. I wish I could say the same, Falcon. Through the bulletproof windows, Maya watched her apartment building grow smaller in the distance. Somewhere out there, Elena Vasquez was building an army with stolen technology and the skills Maya had helped develop. The war director Mitchell had mentioned was coming whether Maya participated or not. She made her choice. It was time for Red Shadow to end what it had started. The safe house was located in an abandoned industrial complex outside Denver, far from the quiet streets of Cedar Falls. Maya found herself in a world of concrete walls, high-tech surveillance equipment, and personnel who moved with the deadly efficiency she remembered from her Red Shadow days. Director Mitchell had assembled what she called a joint task force, but Maya recognized it for what it really was, a Black Ops unit designed to clean up the mess that Red Shadow had become. Marcus Webb briefed her on Elena's activities while technicians worked to establish secure communications with other intelligence agencies. The scale of the problem was worse than Maya had imagined. Elena hadn't just stolen technology. She had systematically recruited former Special Forces operators from around the world, building a private army of elite soldiers equipped with weapons that officially didn't exist. She's calling herself the Red Widow now, Marcus explained, pulling up satellite images on a large monitor. Operating out of a compound in Montenegro, the local government thinks she's running a legitimate security consulting firm. Maya studied the aerial photographs. The compound was impressive, multiple buildings arranged in a defensive pattern, with clear sight lines and escape routes that demonstrated Elena's understanding of tactical positioning. It looked more like a military base than a business headquarters. How many people is she working with? Intelligence estimates put her force at around 60 personnel, but they're all highly trained. Former Navy SEALs, British SAS, Russian Spetsnaz, Israeli Sayeret Matkal. She's cherry-picked the best operators from elite units worldwide. Director Mitchell joined them at the monitor. What makes this particularly dangerous is that she's not just selling weapons technology. She's selling trained operators who can use it effectively. A terrorist organization might be able to buy advanced targeting systems, but without proper training, they're just expensive equipment. Elena provides both the hardware and the expertise. Maya felt a familiar knot forming in her stomach. Elena had always been brilliant, but she had also been driven by a need to prove herself. Growing up as the daughter of migrant farm workers, she had fought for every opportunity, every recognition. The sudden shutdown of Red Shadow must have felt like the ultimate betrayal of her talents and dedication. What was her breaking point? Maya asked. Elena wasn't unstable during the program. Something specific must have triggered this. Marcus and Director Mitchell exchanged glances before Mitchell spoke. The Mirror Lake incident wasn't a simple intelligence failure. Elena discovered that Red Shadow was being shut down not because of operational concerns, but because certain political figures wanted the technology to remain classified. They were afraid that our success would lead to demands for the program to be expanded. Maya remembered the confusion and chaos of that final mission. They had been sent to eliminate a terrorist cell that was allegedly developing biological weapons, but the intelligence had been deliberately flawed. Instead of finding a laboratory, they had walked into a heavily fortified compound filled with innocent civilians being used as human shields. Elena figured out we were set up. More than that, she discovered that the decision to shut down Red Shadow had been made weeks before Mirror Lake. The mission was designed to fail, to provide justification for ending the program. Mitchell's voice carried a note of anger. 6 good people died that day because some bureaucrats were afraid of accountability. Maya closed her eyes, remembering the weight of her rifle as she made impossible shots through narrow windows, trying to eliminate threats without harming the civilians they were supposed to protect. Elena had been their eyes and ears that day, using drone surveillance to guide their movements and provide real-time intelligence. Without her support, none of them would have survived. So Elena decided to monetize what she learned. Initially, she just wanted to expose the truth. She tried going through official channels, congressional oversight committees, investigative journalists. Every door was slammed in her face. The program was classified so deep that most people didn't even know it existed. Marcus pulled up another set of images, these showing Elena's transformation over the past 18 months. The brilliant scientist Maya remembered had become something harder, more dangerous. Her dark hair was now platinum blonde, and her soft features had sharpened into something predatory. She started small, Marcus continued, selling individual components to private military contractors. But when she realized how much money was available, the operation expanded rapidly. Now she's running what amounts to a shadow military force. Maya studied Elena's most recent photograph. She's not just in this for money. Elena never cared about wealth. She's building something. Building what? Proof. She's going to demonstrate that Red Shadow technology can change the balance of power globally. Then, she's going to make the people who shut us down pay for their decision. Director Mitchell frowned. Intelligence suggests she's planning something significant, but we haven't been able to determine her target. The concern is that she might be preparing to sell enhanced targeting systems to state actors who could use them for assassination programs. Maya shook her head. Elena wouldn't work with government agencies. She has a deep mistrust of institutional authority now. But she might work with someone who could help her expose the truth about Red Shadow. Like who? Maya thought about Elena's psychology, her motivations, and fears. Someone with media connections. Someone who could guarantee global attention for whatever she's planning to reveal. Marcus was already typing on his laptop, cross-referencing Elena's known associates with media figures and investigative journalists. The search results appeared on the main monitor within seconds. Here, Dmitry Volkov, Russian investigative journalist who specializes in exposing government secrets. He's been trying to get access to classified American military programs for years. Director Mitchell studied Volkov's profile. He's legitimate, not a government asset. Published several books exposing corruption in both Russian and American intelligence agencies. She paused, considering the implications. If Elena provides him with proof that Red Shadow exists and was deliberately sabotaged, the international political fallout could be enormous. Maya felt pieces of a larger puzzle clicking into place. It's not just about exposing Red Shadow. Elena is planning to demonstrate the technology publicly, in a way that can't be denied or covered up. She needs targets that will generate maximum media attention. What kind of targets? Before Maya could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. A technician called out from his workstation, "We're receiving priority traffic from NSA. Multiple intelligence agencies are reporting coordinated attacks on their facilities worldwide." The main monitor switched to a news feed showing smoke rising from what appeared to be a government building. The reporter was describing precision attacks of unknown origin that had simultaneously struck intelligence facilities in London, Berlin, and Tokyo. In each case, the attacks had been carried out with extraordinary accuracy, eliminating specific targets while leaving surrounding areas untouched. Maya watched the footage with growing horror. She's making her demonstration. Director Mitchell was already coordinating with other agencies through her secure communication system. All attacks occurred within the same 15-minute window. Preliminary reports indicate long-range precision strikes using technology that doesn't match any known weapon systems. Marcus pointed to details in the news footage. Look at the damage patterns. These aren't conventional weapons. The precision is too perfect, the targeting too specific. She's using Red Shadow technology to prove it works. Maya studied the images more carefully. Each attack had eliminated a single room within a larger building complex, causing minimal collateral damage while completely destroying the intended target. The level of precision required was beyond anything available to conventional military forces. She's not finished, Maya realized. These are just the opening demonstration. Elena is building up to something bigger. Bigger how? Maya turned to Director Mitchell with growing urgency. Elena knows everything about Red Shadow's capabilities because she helped design them. She also knows who was responsible for shutting down the program. Those attacks today were just proof of concept. She's planning to eliminate everyone involved in the decision to end Red Shadow. Mitchell went pale. The shutdown order came from the highest levels of government. We're talking about cabinet officials, congressional committee chairs, joint chiefs of staff. Elena has their names, their schedules, and the technology to reach them anywhere in the world. She's not just selling Red Shadow technology anymore. She's using it to conduct a personal war against the people who destroyed her life's work. Marcus was already pulling up classified files on his laptop. If she targets senior government officials, the response will be overwhelming. Every intelligence agency in the world will be hunting her. That's exactly what she wants, Maya said grimly. Elena isn't trying to escape accountability. She's trying to force a global conversation about classified programs and government accountability. Dead officials make for very public inquiries. Director Mitchell was coordinating with multiple agencies simultaneously, her voice crisp and professional as she relayed intelligence and tactical assessments. But Maya could see the strain in her posture. They were facing an opponent who understood their capabilities better than they understood hers. "We need to get ahead of her next move," Mitchell said, ending her latest call. "Dr. Chun, you know Elena better than anyone. Where would she go to make her final statement?" Maya closed her eyes, thinking about her former friend's psychology and motivations. Elena had always been drawn to symbolic gestures, to moments that would be remembered and discussed for years afterward. She wouldn't be content with eliminating her targets quietly. She'll want an audience. Somewhere with global media presence where the demonstration can't be covered up or explained away. Maya opened her eyes, the answer crystallizing in her mind. The United Nations. Marcus looked up from his laptop. The UN Security Council is meeting next week to discuss international terrorism. It's a closed session, but there will be massive media presence outside. Director Mitchell was already reaching for her secure phone. If Elena attacks the UN, it would be an act of war against every member nation. The response would be immediate and overwhelming. Maya nodded grimly. Elena knows that. She's not planning to survive this mission. She's planning to make a statement that will force the world to acknowledge what Red Shadow was and why it was destroyed. As Director Mitchell coordinated with UN security and multiple intelligence agencies, Maya realized that stopping Elena would require more than just superior tactics or technology. It would require understanding the pain and betrayal that had driven her former friend to become an international terrorist. The quiet life Maya had tried to build in Cedar Falls was truly over now. Red Shadow was about to become very public, and the world would finally learn what happened when brilliant scientists were betrayed by the very government they had served with dedication and loyalty. Elena was coming, and she was bringing all of Red Shadow's secrets with her. The United Nations building in New York City had been transformed into a fortress. Maya watched from a rooftop position 6 blocks away as security teams swept every building within a 2-mile radius. The Security Council meeting had been moved to a secure conference room deep within the complex. But Elena's demonstrated capabilities meant that no location could be considered truly safe. Maya adjusted her position behind the custom rifle that Director Mitchell's team had provided. It was similar to the weapons she had used during Red Shadow operations, but equipped with targeting systems that even Elena wouldn't recognize. Mitchell's people had spent the last 72 hours developing countermeasures based on Maya's knowledge of Red Shadow technology. Phoenix, this is Control. Mitchell's voice crackled through Maya's earpiece. We have movement in the hotel complex. Possible target acquisition. Maya swiveled her scope toward the luxury hotel 8 blocks from the UN building. Through the advanced optics, she could see figures moving with tactical precision across the rooftop. Even at this distance, she recognized Elena's movements, efficient, calculated, and absolutely confident. Confirmed visual on Red Widow. She has at least 6 operators with her. Can you engage? Maya studied the tactical situation through her scope. Elena's team had positioned themselves perfectly, with overlapping fields of fire and multiple escape routes. More importantly, they were using civilians in the surrounding buildings as unwitting cover, making any direct assault extremely difficult. Negative. Too much collateral risk. She's smarter than that. Marcus Webb's voice came through the communication system from his position in a building closer to the UN. Phoenix, I'm seeing preparation for multiple simultaneous shots. They're setting up a crossfire pattern that would make interdiction almost impossible. Maya felt her stomach drop. Elena wasn't planning a single assassination. She was preparing to eliminate multiple targets simultaneously, probably during the public portion of the Security Council session when representatives would be visible through the building's windows. Control. How many targets are in the Security Council chamber? 15 primary representatives, plus support staff. The session is supposed to be closed, but there will be a brief media opportunity at the beginning. Maya realized Elena's plan with growing horror. She wasn't just targeting the officials who had shut down Red Shadow. She was planning to eliminate multiple world leaders during a live media broadcast, creating an international incident that would force immediate and overwhelming attention to Red Shadow's existence. She's going to start a war, Maya whispered. What was that, Phoenix? Elena isn't just seeking revenge. If she kills multiple Security Council members during a live broadcast, every nation will assume they're under attack. The military response will be immediate and devastating. Through her scope, Maya watched Elena moving between her operators, making final adjustments to their equipment. Her former friend had always been meticulous in her planning, but this level of coordination suggested months of preparation. Maya's earpiece crackled with an unexpected transmission. "Hello, Maya." Elena's voice was calm and professional, exactly as Maya remembered from their Red Shadow days. "I know you're out there. I've been monitoring the counter-sniper positions for the last hour." Maya hesitated before responding. "Elena, we need to talk. I'm afraid talking time is over. You have approximately 10 minutes before the media session begins. I suggest you use that time to get clear of the engagement zone." Director Mitchell's voice cut in. "All units, maintain position. Do not engage unless specifically authorized." Maya ignored the directive and spoke directly to Elena. "This won't bring back the people we lost at Mirror Lake." "No, but it will ensure their sacrifice meant something. Red Shadow deserves to be remembered, Maya. We were the best at what we did, and they destroyed us because we were too effective for their comfort." Maya studied Elena's position through her scope. "Killing innocent people won't prove that point." "Innocent?" Elena's laugh was bitter. "The people in that chamber have been complicit in cover-ups and classified programs for decades. They know exactly what they're authorizing when they sign those black budget allocations." Maya realized that Elena's psychological break was deeper than anyone had understood. She wasn't just angry about Red Shadow's shutdown. She had convinced herself that the entire international intelligence community was corrupt and deserving of elimination. "Elena, I'm coming to your position. Don't shoot." "Maya, no." Director Mitchell's voice was urgent in her earpiece. Maya was already moving, leaving her rifle position and heading for the stairs. Elena's hotel complex was 6 blocks away, but Maya knew the building layouts in this area better than anyone after studying them for the past 3 days. She could reach Elena's position in less than 5 minutes if she moved fast. Maya's earpiece crackled with coordinated communications as multiple law enforcement and military units repositioned to respond to her movements. She ignored them all, focusing on the layout of the hotel building and the fastest route to the rooftop. She reached the hotel through a service entrance, moving past confused kitchen staff and maintenance workers who couldn't understand why someone in tactical gear was running through their workplace. Maya found the service elevator and rode it to the top floor, then located the access stairs to the roof. The rooftop was silent when she emerged, but Maya could sense the presence of Elena's team. They had positioned themselves behind air conditioning units and ventilation equipment, creating natural cover while maintaining clear shooting positions toward the UN building. "I'm here," Maya called out. Elena stepped out from behind a large ventilation unit, looking exactly as she had in the surveillance photographs, but somehow smaller in person. Her platinum blonde hair was pulled back in a tactical ponytail, and she wore form-fitting black clothing that would provide maximum mobility. Her hands were empty, but Maya could see at least 3 weapons within easy reach. "You shouldn't have come," Elena said quietly. "You're my friend. I couldn't let you do this without trying to stop you." Elena's expression softened for a moment, showing a glimpse of the scientist Maya remembered. "We were good at what we did, weren't we? The best team Red Shadow ever produced. We were. But this isn't what our training was for, wasn't it?" Elena's voice hardened again. "We were trained to eliminate threats to national security. The people who shut down Red Shadow are exactly that kind of threat." Maya moved closer, keeping her hands visible and non-threatening. "Elena, if you kill those people, every government in the world will hunt down everyone connected to Red Shadow. They'll eliminate Marcus, the other survivors, probably me. You'll destroy what's left of our team." Elena hesitated, clearly not having considered that aspect of her plan. "I won't let them cover this up again." "Then, let's find another way. There are journalists who would be interested in this story. Congressional investigators who would listen if we approached them correctly." I tried that approach. Nobody wanted to hear about Red Shadow. Maya reached into her jacket slowly and pulled out a small device. "Voice recorder. Tell me everything about Mirror Lake, about the shutdown, about what you've discovered. I'll make sure the right people hear it." Elena stared at the recorder for a long moment. Through her earpiece, Maya could hear Director Mitchell coordinating with UN security as the media session was about to begin. In the distance, she could see news helicopters positioning themselves for the best camera angles. "It's too late," Elena said finally. "I've already initiated the sequence." Maya felt her blood turn cold. "What sequence?" Elena gestured toward her team's positions. Maya looked more carefully and realized that the weapons were already trained on the UN building, tracking systems active, and ready to fire on predetermined targets. Automated targeting. The system will engage in 90 seconds whether I'm here or not. Maya's mind raced through possibilities. Then, shut it down. I can't. The authorization codes were distributed among my team. It would require all of us working together to abort the mission. Maya looked around the rooftop, counting positions. Elena's operators were spread across an area the size of half a city block, each one positioned to prevent exactly the kind of coordination that would be required to abort the mission. Then, we make them want to abort. How? Maya pulled out her secure communication device and switched it to a frequency she knew Elena's team would be monitoring. All Red Widow operators, this is Phoenix. Clearance level L7. I'm implementing Broken Arrow protocols. Broken Arrow was a Red Shadow emergency code that meant the mission had been compromised and all personnel should extract immediately. Maya wasn't sure if Elena's new team would recognize the authority of Red Shadow protocols, but it was worth trying. One of Elena's operators, a man Maya recognized as former British SAS, called out from his position, Red Widow, Phoenix authorization confirmed. Requesting mission status. Elena looked at Maya with something approaching admiration. You're trying to use our own protocols against us. I'm trying to save your life. And theirs. And everyone in that building. Maya's earpiece crackled with urgent communications as the media session was beginning at the UN. Through the clear morning air, she could hear the distant sound of helicopters and news crews setting up for what they thought would be a routine diplomatic event. 60 seconds to target acquisition, one of Elena's operators reported. Elena closed her eyes, clearly struggling with her decision. Maya could see the conflict playing out across her face, the need for revenge warring with whatever remained of her humanity and loyalty to their shared past. Elena, Maya said softly, remember why we joined Red Shadow in the first place. We wanted to protect people, to make the world safer. This isn't protection. This is revenge. Elena opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. They destroyed everything we worked for. Then, let's rebuild it the right way. Together. Elena looked around at her positioned team, then back at Maya. Broken Arrow protocols require unanimous confirmation from all team leaders. 30 seconds to target acquisition. Elena reached for her communication device. All operators, this is Red Widow. Mission abort. Implement Broken Arrow protocols immediately. The response from her team was immediate and professional. Maya watched as Elena's operators began disassembling their equipment and preparing for extraction, their movements efficient and coordinated despite the sudden change in mission status. Maya's earpiece crackled with Director Mitchell's voice. Phoenix, confirm mission status. Threat neutralized. Red Widow is standing down. Elena was already moving toward the rooftop access, her team falling in around her with the practiced efficiency of elite operators. She paused at the door and turned back to Maya. This isn't over, she said, but her voice lacked the edge of desperation it had carried before. Maya nodded. I know, but maybe we can finish it the right way. As Elena and her team disappeared into the hotel building, Maya remained on the rooftop, watching the UN complex in the distance. The media session would proceed normally, the Security Council would continue their meetings, and the world would never know how close it had come to a catastrophic international incident. Maya's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2 when you are. The message was from Elena. Maya realized that her former friend's surrender hadn't been the end of their conflict, but rather a tactical repositioning. Elena was still committed to exposing Red Shadow's existence, but now she was willing to work with Maya to do it through legal channels. Director Mitchell's voice came through her earpiece. Phoenix, you need to report to debrief immediately. Maya looked out over New York City, thinking about the conversation she was about to have with government officials who would want to bury this incident as deeply as possible. Elena had been right about one thing. The system was designed to protect itself, not to reveal uncomfortable truths about classified programs. But Maya had learned something important during her confrontation with Elena. Red Shadow hadn't died when the program was shut down. It had evolved, becoming something more dangerous because it operated outside official oversight. The only way to truly end the threat was to bring the whole story into the light. Maya started walking toward the rooftop access, already planning her next conversation with Director Mitchell. Red Shadow was about to become public knowledge, whether the government wanted it to or not. The only question was whether Maya could control how that revelation unfolded. The quiet life in Cedar Falls was definitely over now. But maybe, Maya thought, it was time for the truth to finally come out.